Like, are we serious? Why would they need to add socks? It's covered by the pants. Hey, what's up mga tol? This is Tall Fry, and today we'll be taking a look at the Felix toys, the Inkblot. Now, this is obviously a figure of not Rorschach from not Watchmen. And when we take a look at the packaging here, one thing that stands out, ironically, is how small the box is. There's no window box packaging, it's just one closed box with all the content you need inside it, and I honestly like this very much. It's not big, but it has exactly what it needs for you to be attracted to it. And once you look at it, you can see a familiar image that kind of looks like that still from the Watchmen comic of Rorschach. But since this is the Inkblot, it's of course the Inkblot holding a Rorschach card in front of his face. See? It's different, guys.
Stop the
And then
cap.
as you turn around, the graphic kind of continues. And at the back, you have some warnings and blah, 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 not important. So, the third party companies are stepping it up, and let's take a look and see at how that applies to the figure itself. And here's the out of the box look at the Inkblot himself, looking very hobo like. Starting with his unmasked head sculpt, since that's what he comes with out of the packaging, it looks really scary. This is dangerously close to Jackie Earl Haley's likeness. With the beard, the shading, all that, it looks so cool. The skin tone is spot on. It's not just a plain pale whitish color. And then we also have some bloody, bruisey looking parts. The hair also looks like that it's not just like one bunch. It has like individual sculpted strands, which is always a nice touch. His eyes also have that shimmer that a real life person would have. And then down here, this is real cloth goods. It's not just some weak Mando cape material. It feels great. It doesn't look like it's gonna break anytime soon or tear apart. And even with the scarf itself, it has that stitching pattern, but it's not too distracting. Realistic looking buttons. And then this tie around the trench coat itself, which is actually does fasten the coat together to make sure it doesn't, go out of place. But it also has bendy wire so that you can pose these tassels around however you like it's flowing in the wind or something, or if he's in action. You can see a bit of the wire popping out from there, but it's really small, only if you actually look at it up close. The pockets are actual pockets, like there is some depth to them, and then if you can remove these hands properly, you can actually have him in the pose where he puts his hands in his pocket while walking. The hands look great, well, not actual leather gloves, but they look really convincing as leather gloves. And then there's even a wash over it to give it that dirty, grimy look. Back of the figure also looking great. This tassel has some metallic painted fastener buckle thingy. Then these pants. These pants are spot on, I think, to the Rorschach costume. They actually remind me of Joker because of the pinstripes, but yeah, this also feels like a sturdy fabric, not gonna break anytime soon, I hope. But another hidden detail that they legit did not even have to add at all are these socks. The figure is wearing socks. We have a look at his shoes. I'm not sure if you can call these boots. And they have some textured pattern there at the side. He also has some dirt and grime to make them look more realistic. And then at the bottom we have realistic treads for his feet. For the figure's articulation, you'll have to forgive me if I'm just a little bit more cautious when it comes to articulating clothed figures. This is my first experience with him after all. So yeah, I might be a little stingy. Now for the head, he has no individual head and neck joints. Any head movement that you have will rely on the ball joint at the base of the neck. So his neck will only allow movement up to a certain point, like looking up that much. But yeah, as you can see, if you push it a little too much, his neck will kind of detach. So that's fine, you can just pop it back in just like that. He can kind of tilt his head to have that iconic Rorschach head tilting pose. He can look down a good bunch, of course, the scarf doesn't get in the way too much. But of course, in general, the scarf does kind of shift it back into place. He can go up to T-pose, that is good. The trench coat won't be stretched so much since you can just move around the wrinkles so that the tension isn't in anywhere that's dangerous. Can also do some of the butterfly strokes, but of course cloth figure, so not as maximum range as say a Mafex. There's some butterfly joint action there, so he can kind of put his arm in front of himself, so that's good. Bicep swivel, I can feel it in there. Double jointed elbows, and then for the hands he has hinge and swivel. Crunch forward that much, back that much, which is pretty decent amount I suppose. Then his legs, no drop down hips or thigh swivel. He can't quite comfortably for me get up to 90, so it will be just a bit below 90. Then for the back kick, it's also pretty good since there is a slit there at the back, so the trench coat won't hinder it too much. And when making him do the splits, that's when the trench coat will sort of get in the way. But I think it's for the best, so nothing breaks, especially the pants. Double jointed knees, his ass can get hit by his leg, so that's cool. The ankle hinge on this is phenomenal actually. It goes up a lot and goes down a lot as well. And the rocker is also really good. Like dang, yo, they make it look seamless and feel seamless as well when it comes to the range of movement. And of course, I guess this also counts as a point of articulation, the tassels thingy. And now taking a look at the figure's accessories, I gotta say this is a pretty much near perfect set. There's not a lot that I'd want to add to this. Maybe just the end is nigh sign. But other than that, this is pretty great. For extra hands, we have 2 open hands, 2 grip hands, and then 2 special hands which are different. One is a right trigger finger hand, as you can see here, which is mainly meant for the grappling gun. But in my pictures, I also used it for this hairspray can. The second special hand would be this tiny pinching one, which is, I think, mainly used for this, the smiley badge, which fits in right there. But you can also use it for another tiny object like this rose. And just like with the fist hands earlier, they also have that nice leathery texture. And they also have that greenish, blackish wash in between in the crevices and gaps to make it look like really dirty. Then taking a look at this gun, it has different colors with the gold and the silver and the brown. And they have some nice details sculpted onto it. Then you have some extra parts, as you can see here. I'll show the first one. This is the folded in grappling part. It's a tight squeeze, but it still fits just fine. And if you want Rorschach with his grappling gun that's not yet been fired, then this is the way to do it. But if you most probably want it in action, you get this other piece. You can have it with just the spike coming out, so he still hasn't fired it, but is about to. And then they also included this tiny piece of bendy wire. Okay, just like that. It's a pretty decent fit. And then you insert the other end into the hole that's also in the gun. Now, I'll admit these are really small holes, so you really need to be pretty precise when you're putting it in. But just like that, it looks like it's maybe like 0.1 milliseconds after firing or something like that. But if you want it like more in action, very dynamic, then you can switch out this short wire for an even longer one, which they included in this plastic bag. And I kid you not, I actually thought this was missing for a while when I saw what the figure is supposed to come with. So based on my knowledge of how physics works, I think this longer, straighter end is supposed to come out here. And seeing it now, it's not so bad. It looks kind of like it's in a straight line. But in other angles, it looked pretty wonky. But right now, yeah, it looks pretty good. Just gotta make sure that it's like tight in the hole enough. Wow, these innuendos though. You have this spray can which says Vite Hairspray for Men Super Hold. I really like the shiny gold. And then this goes with the lighter effect, which is really awesome. I love the transparent orange and red that comes with it. Really sells the effect that it's fire. And they even added a bit of detailing on the lighter itself, which is cool. And then we also have this rose, pretty simple. Nothing too in your face. It has some black wash in the gaps to make it... Oh my gosh, it just fell. Yep, you just gotta be careful that you don't drop it. And there's also a green part for the stem. Rorschach's Journal, 1984 to 1985. This is engraved, by the way. It's not just some kind of paint thingy. And then it has the wrap over it. You can't open it, unfortunately, but I don't think you'd need to. Pretty sturdy material, though you can also kind of flex it-ish a bit. The tiniest out of all these accessories is the smiley pin with the blood drop on it. This is pretty much the symbol of the Watchmen comic, and it has that shine to it. As you can see, it's reflecting my ring lights. And another nifty touch is that they also sculpted in that part at the back, as if it's an actual pin. And then, last but not least, we have the head accessories. So I showed you earlier the Jackie Earl Haley head sculpt, and as phenomenal as that was, on the shelf I'm probably gonna keep Rorschach with his Rorschach mask. So we have 3 optional head sculpts here, and they came out of the packaging like this, by the way. Each of the heads, even the unmasked one, has their own plastic wrapping to protect it when it's in shipping or in storage. They all look really good, but out of these three, these two are my favorite. This one just looks too much like a face that it kind of ruins the whole Rorschach effect. But yeah, the texture on it looks great, just like out of the movie. And the black on it also has some gradient. It's not just plain black, there are also some lighter shades of gray in there for all of them. And you could see it's not perfectly painted, which is I imagine how the mask would work. There's some very small speckles and dots, which is okay. And the hat you can put on each and every one of them and they fit great, just like that. Now switching out the heads isn't really that hard. They're pretty easy to pull out. And this is the Rorschach look that I absolutely love. The scarf is tucked in and all. I guess there could have been a way where this collar piece was raised, because I know he likes to do that in the movie. In contrast, switching out the hands can be a really scary pain in the ass. I say scary because I actually was able to pop out one of the, or half of the pegs out of the socket. If you just pull it down straight like that, it creates a lot of friction and tends to pull out this side. So you kind of have to do it at an angle and be very, very careful while doing it. It's already coming off just like that, separating it. Thankfully, I can just push it back in. I know in other reviews that's also a pretty common issue, so maybe if they do a reissue, they could fix that. And we can take a look at the cleaver now. It has a nice gradient. I know this is silver and then it gets darker up here to the top, and then you also have some speckles of blood. Not as bloody as I want it to be, because you know what he did in the movie with this thing, so you kind of expect more, but whatever. And also a nice detail are those silver rivets on the handle right there. So putting it in the hand is relatively simple. The hand isn't like super stiff that I have to heat it up, and that applies to all the other hands as well. The Inkblot stands at about 6.5 inches to the top of his hat. And for size comparisons, here's the Inkblot next to the Mafex Hush Joker and Batman Black version. And here he is next to the Dark Knight Interrogation Scene Joker and the Dark Knight 3.0. And last but not least, here he is to the Black Series Return of the Jedi Boba Fett and the Marvel Legends Fantastic Four Human Torch. So in conclusion, this figure ticks a lot of the right boxes for me. I usually prefer figures with minimal soft goods, but the way it was executed here made it work in the figure's favor. Any detail and texture you could want from the costume is there. Articulation is good given the clothes and the character, but the accessories make up like half of what I love about this set. All the display options you could want from a guy like this, and their quality is quite exceptional too. The only major downside is the wrist pegs, really. This is proof that third-party companies like Filix Toys can make better stuff compared to some official figure companies, honestly. The Inkblot is a very high-quality figure, well worth the 4,200 pesos I spent on it. And with a stretch of the imagination, it can be my ideal 1/12 Rorschach figure too. But what do you guys think? Is this worth your money, or do you want some other company like Mezco to take a crack at the Rorschach and other Watchmen characters? Let me know in the comments down below, and like and subscribe while you're at it. Share this with your friends and be good people, I guess. So you can get that iconic Rorschach T-pose, of course. If you're precise enough, you can shoot into the hole. The only questionable